there's a genre of games I had to pick for having the craziest pool of game mechanics, it would have to be auto battlers. And Net.Attack fits in perfectly with its own twist on the auto battler genre that makes it stick out in the best ways. Net.Attack originally released for early access back on June 19th of 2025, but is leaving early access with its full release happening on March 12th, 2026. And Byte Rockers gave us early access to that full release for the purposes of this review, which is kind of nice to see a game that started in early access actually leave early access. I feel like this is seeing a unicorn, as most games I've backed in early access never seem to make that jump. But like I said before, Net.Attack is an auto battler. For those of you who haven't played an auto battler before, the general gameplay is your character would automatically attack, with your prime focus being to dodge enemies and upgrade your attacks by making them bigger, better, faster, or stronger. Usually by grabbing items on the field to enhance your attacks during that run. In Net.Attack though, the auto battle mechanics for your attacks are done through the use of code that you build up through predetermined coding blocks that you add to your character. Depending on the character you select, the coding blocks you start with and have access to will change. For example, with the starting character of Eddie83, he'll start with 3 modules that will perform an action on a tick, which is a time-based module, which is based on the amount of milliseconds that it has attached to it, which goes up as more actions are attached to it, with those actions being denoted as nodes. So by connecting a node that has a ping to that tick module, you'll shoot a laser at the nearest enemy, with that happening every time it ticks based on how many milliseconds it takes between ticks, which starts off pretty simple, but when you start getting into it, you can create some crazy builds, with each node being able to build off the previous with their different commands, like making it so every time that ping from before hits an enemy, it'll perform another ping from where that last command ended. And then you can add special nodes that'll upgrade the power of the following nodes, or make it so the nodes have a faster attack time. And then you can add in splits, combines, mines, tornadoes, and all kinds of different node abilities until you get something that looks like this, which can basically clear out the biggest enemies quickly. Whenever you defeat an enemy, they have a chance to drop byte coins, which are used to level up your avatar. And when you level up, you'll get access to upgrades for that run that can increase some of your stats, like decreasing the time it takes for nodes to activate or the chance for drops to occur. Because while enemies do have a chance to drop byte coins when defeated, they also have a chance to drop other items you can pick up, such as health packs, items that can clear out the entire board, and even extra money, which that money will come in handy to buy additional nodes to attach to your modules that perform actions, and sometimes even additional modules, allowing you to upgrade your build and make it even crazier, with another goal being to find these golden chips on each layer of the stage. By standing on them, you'll gain dark bits, which can be used to buy permanent upgrades in the store, which can give you anything from higher max health, higher damage, increased speed, or even buying additional avatars. With each avatar, as I said before, having their own modules and nodes that they start off with and have access to upgrade. By switching up these different avatars, you can take on up to 7 layers in one of 3 different worlds, each world having their own difficulty settings that you can take on for a greater challenge. During my playthrough of the game, I found the higher difficulties to be the most fun personally, with the lower difficulties getting kind of boring early on, as you can easily cut your way through the levels. On the higher difficulties though, it hits a sweet spot where you actually need to strategize where you will place your nodes, and think about the order of your actions to combine and split your nodes for additional attacks or triggers. I especially loved using the strong ping nodes, which allowed 2 inbound actions so you could trigger it from 2 different paths. And when done right, you could combine 2 different tick modules to lead to the same triggered path. And even then, when you think you're overpowered, you can still get caught off guard with those higher difficulties. But in the cases where you do get super overpowered, that normally is coming by the 6th or 7th layer, which once you complete the 7th layer, it's time to finish that run and you can start a new one. I found it to be perfectly timed, with every run ending on layer 7 just before getting too overpowered and the game becoming a cakewalk. And then the 3 different environments might not seem like much, but for the roguelike experience this game has to offer, it's perfect. It allows you to get to know the map, so you can focus less on trying to figure out what the layout of the map is, and more on your build. Where the huge variance comes in is learning how to play as the different avatars and finding ones that work for you. I found one of my favorite avatars to play as was Jovi, whose entire module focus is on standing on the golden chips, as one of their starting modules is based on performing an action whenever you're on one of those golden chips, and getting these spinning projectiles that would attack anyone that comes near you. My goal was always to attach these to pings, so once a ping hit an enemy, it would start encircling it with these little projectiles that would then eventually hit other enemies and cause this giant chain effect, and spreading out to eventually attack things across the map that I couldn't even see. And that's where the fun in this game came to me, with creating the different chains and paths for the nodes, and the ways you can mix them up with the order of attacks and how the chains will proceed. It makes every run feel unique based on the random possibility of what you can get next, and finding a way to create a strategy on it. And throughout my playthrough of the game, I found the coding mechanics to be a very fun way to integrate into the auto battle genre. My only real complaint, and it's a small one, is the fact that the game doesn't really work well with controllers. You can control your character on the board fine with controller, but when it comes to the node menu and everything, you'll need a mouse in order to move nodes around and connect them to each other. Which for an auto battler, I think using a controller is kind of a requirement, as the analog sticks just give you much better control of your character than WASD does on your keyboard. With all that in mind, I give Net.Attack a 4 out of 5. This game was a blast, and I had a lot of fun playing it. There is so much content to keep fans of auto battlers and roguelike experiences engaged in this one. I found it especially fun, messing with the different avatars and figuring out new strategies to make them work. So if you like auto battler games, this one's definitely worth checking out. And you can find the link to Net.Attack on Steam in the description below. Also, if you made it this far, hit that subscribe button and check out some of our other videos as well. Any of you have suggestions for other games you think we should play? Let us know in the comments below. Until next time, this has been Brad with the Bickering Nerds.